Imagine this scene. You're standing in goal at Juventus Stadium, the scoreboard still at 0, and suddenly you see a short, left-footed guy coming straight at you, the Barcelona jersey glued to his body like a second skin. He's right in front of you, and in those seconds where time seems to stretch, you realize there's no human way to guess what he's about to do. That guy is Lionel Messi, and on the other end, in goal, is Gianluigi Buffon, a man who has seen every football legend pass by, but who, even so, felt the need to touch him just to make sure he was real. Literally. Buffon told it himself. "I touched Messi to make sure he was a human being." Spoiler, he wasn't entirely sure. The interesting thing is that Buffon isn't someone who hands out praise like flyers on the street. If he says something, it's because he truly believes it. And what he says about Messi is almost a statement of principles. There are moments when he is simply unstoppable. Sure, anyone could think that's poetic exaggeration, until you remember how many goals and how many impossible plays you've seen Messi pull off against perfectly positioned defenses. Buffon explains it simply. Messi doesn't just beat you with speed or technique. He beats you because he sees football as if he were playing from a balcony, with the whole panorama clear, anticipating every movement. And that's where the comparison with Cristiano Ronaldo inevitably appears. Buffon doesn't hide it. Messi is more complete than Cristiano Ronaldo. He doesn't say it as criticism of the Portuguese player. On the contrary, he recognizes Cristiano as a competitive machine in the style of Rafael Nadal. But for him, Messi is something else, a Roger Federer of football. Pure class, balance, precision, with that touch of art that isn't taught in any school. And who better than Buffon to deliver that verdict? A guy who has faced both, who, by the way, has lifted a World Cup and lasted 30 years at the elite level. At this point, it's worth stopping to think about how often a historic goalkeeper has spoken this way about a rival striker. Because Buffon doesn't just recognize technique, he also recognizes attitude. Despite being considered an extraterrestrial, he maintains a humble attitude, he says. And there's a detail we sometimes forget. In a football world where egos alone could fill stadiums, Messi remains the one who prefers to speak on the pitch. Buffon, a goalkeeper who has seen and stopped the best, can't find enough adjectives to describe what it means to face Messi. He calls him an extraterrestrial, compares him to Federer, places him above Cristiano in terms of completeness, all with the calm of someone who knows his words aren't fashion but pure experience. And now, let's make a small change of pace. Because here, we're not just talking about football, we're talking about legacy. Think about this. Buffon owes nothing to Messi. They're not teammates. They don't share a jersey or interests. Their careers ran on parallel paths, but every time they crossed, Buffon walked away with the feeling that he had faced something unrepeatable. And that, in such a competitive sport, is a tribute in itself. It's as if in boxing, Muhammad Ali had recognized in another fighter the same spark that made him immortal. The weight of this opinion is massive. It's not a Twitter influencer or a fan wearing a jersey. It's one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time saying that even at his peak, Messi leaves you without answers. And that's where the magic lies. Messi isn't just the player who scores impossible goals, he's the one who forces you to redefine what you thought was possible on a football field. That's why I wonder, when figures of this magnitude speak this way, aren't we actually hearing the verdict of history ahead of time? Isn't it as if football itself, through its legends, were already writing the final chapter of who was the greatest? And now I leave it to you. Are Buffon's words the definitive proof that Messi is the most complete footballer we've ever seen? If you think so, leave it in the comments. And if you think there's another candidate, tell me who and why. Subscribe, because here we don't just tell football stories, we live them, debate them, and celebrate them, as befits a sport that from time to time gives us extraterrestrials of flesh and blood. In my opinion, when Gianluigi Buffon speaks, the football world goes silent. And it's not because he has a booming voice or because he's always chasing headlines, but because the man is, literally, a living piece of this sport's history. World champion, absolute legend of the goal, rival of all the greats, and privileged witness to 2 decades of elite football. That's why, when Buffon opens his mouth to talk about Lionel Messi, it's not just another opinion. It's a sentence. And in this case, the sentence was clear. Messi, so he does inhuman things. There is no one else like him. Let's stop there for a second. A guy who faced Cristiano Ronaldo, who shared the pitch with Zidane, who saw Ronaldinho up close, and the best strikers of several generations, tells you that Messi is on another planet. And he doesn't say it as someone repeating a trend or trying to please the Argentine press. He says it because he lived it firsthand, in those 90 minutes where Messi doesn't need to shout or make exaggerated gestures. He simply destroys you by playing football. Buffon knows what it's like to prepare for a match against Messi. He knows you can watch hours of video, rehearse 1,000 defensive movements, pray before the match. And still, when the Argentine number 10 decides to take you on, there's no manual that can save you. We saw it in the Champions League. We saw it in those Barcelona-Juventus clashes, where, even though Buffon was gigantic, Messi always found a gap, an impossible pass, or a lethal shot. And that's when you understand why he calls him inhuman. Because the word superhuman falls short. It's as if he were playing with a set of abilities the rest of mortals simply can't unlock. And the most impressive thing of all is that Buffon isn't talking about the young Messi, the one who ran like an arrow. No. He's talking about the complete Messi, the one who at 35 won a World Cup by dominating from the pause, from the through ball, from the reading of the game. The Messi who, even when he seems to be walking, is already calculating how to dismantle your defense. And if Buffon, who has seen and studied them all, says there's no one else like him, it's because there truly isn't. These kinds of statements aren't simple compliments. They are, in a way, the acknowledgement that we're living something that won't be repeated. And that, for those of us who love football, is a luxury reminder. We have to enjoy it while it lasts. Because the day Messi is no longer there won't be a Buffon, nor a Cristiano, nor Haaland, nor Mbappe who gives us back this feeling of watching pure magic. And if the praise comes from someone who never let himself be carried away by media exaggeration, who was always sober, serious, and professional, then yes, we have to understand it's not a fan talking. It's an eyewitness to history giving us his final verdict. So, if you ask me, what Buffon said isn't just a simple phrase. It's as if a scientist told you he found the formula for perfection. Messi is that formula. And there's nothing more to add except one question. How many players in history managed to have their rivals describe them as inhuman without it sounding like an exaggeration? So when Buffon says Messi is inhuman, he's not looking for poetry or headlines. He's doing what the wise do, pointing out the obvious that many still don't dare to accept. Because there are players who make history, and there are others who rewrite it, with every touch. Messi isn't just part of the game. He's the glitch in the matrix, the source code of modern football, the before and the after. And if the most respected goalkeeper of his generation confirms it, there's nothing left to do but nod, remain silent, and watch. Because while Messi keeps playing, football still makes sense. And when he retires, we won't miss him like an idol. We'll miss him the way you miss a miracle that no longer happens. Messi isn't the best because the numbers say so. He's the best because even his rivals recognize him as something that can't be explained, only admired.